What's up, y'all? I'm DJ Nate, and this is the Ben Joravsky Show. This show is brought to you in part by you, the listeners. As we find our bearings as an independent podcast, we would greatly appreciate your extended support, whether that be regularly listening to our show, sharing this episode, following us on social media, or if you have the means, you can donate at thebenjoravskyshow.com.
Hello again, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Gas Money Friday, and here's why. The great Delmarie Cobb is standing by. We're going to bring her on, political strategist, political consultant extraordinaire, fresh off her victory in the second congressional primary, where her candidate, Donna Miller, was victorious over my candidate, Robert Peters. I teased Delmarie. She knows I'm not hiding it from her. If I lived in the district, which I don't, she goes, well, you don't live in the district, Ben, so you don't get a vote. I'd have voted for Robert Peters, the lefty. But congratulations to Delmarie. She pulled it off. In my opinion, she was the brains behind that one. But I got to talk about it. We're going to get into the issue of PACs and how they fund and the games they play. I told Delmarie about this story, and I got to share this one with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's in the New York Times today. Fascinating story, behind the scenes machinations, maneuvers of the two industries in Texas when it comes to energy. You got the oil industry, and then you got the quote unquote clean energy industry. And the clean energy industry has been getting battered by MAGA and Donnie Trump. Donnie Trump is just openly favoring the gas industry. He not only does he apparently like gasoline, I don't know what that's all about, some weird thing in him. He's a weird guy, but he hates with a passion anything that's like clean energy. He hates windmills. He hates solar. He's a weird guy, America. You elected a weird man as your president. I'm just saying, okay? I'm the one who'll tell you the truth, America. You'll be hiding under it, but you elected a weirdo. So he passed a law that essentially eradicated all subsidies for the clean energy industry, set it back forever. We're going to be more dependent than ever in gasoline. And we're realizing that now that he's launched this idiotic war against Iran. We can't get the oil through the Persian Gulf. And so, oil gas prices are going up. Gas prices are going up. People scratching their heads. How did this happen? I voted for him. I don't understand. Well, anyway, the congressional architect of that idiotic plan to destroy any kind of subsidy, any kind of assistance for the clean energy industry was a gentleman named Chip Roy. I'm not making up. That's his name. He's a congressman. You can look it up, from Texas. He's running for attorney general. He's going to use his connection to that horrific legislation that went down last year to get a promotion from the MAGA voters of Texas. So he's running for attorney general against a guy named, and I'm not making this name up, Mays Middleton. I mean, they got some names down there in Texas. Hi, I'm Mays Middleton. And they probably wears a cowboy hat. And so anyway, there they are. They're running against each other. And the clean energy said, you know what? We could play this game. We're sick of getting knocked around, kicked around. So they raised a bunch of money from rich guys who support clean energy, because there are some rich guys who support clean energy. And they hired Kellyanne Conway, Delmarie, just think about that. They got old Kellyanne to do a poll. I'm sure she did not do the poll. She just put her name on the poll, got a lot of money for it. It's how you play the game, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get Delmarie talking about transactional relationships in politics. One of my favorite topics. And that poll, here we go. This is a poll found that 75% of Trump voters supported expanding U.S. solar energy. And it got a headline in Breitbart, the right-wing news outlet. 75%. Now, do I believe a poll commissioned or overseen by Kellyanne Conway and Delmarie? I must tell you, no, I do not believe it. It's one of the classic polls, in my humble opinion, feel free to disagree with me, in which you get the result you want to get, all right? And then you go pronounce and you get the people that you feed in the media to run it. Oh, we got a poll here, 75%. But all of a sudden, it's swaying voters. And they're pouring money behind Mays Middleton, who's an oil and gas guy, ladies and gentlemen. And there's like, clean energy strategy in this is, well, we're not going to get an attorney general who's going to benefit our industry. We know that. But we're going to punish Chip Roy. and we're going to send a larger message. And that larger message is, you can't just roll over us. You just can't just kick us in the teeth and think we're not going to fight back. So they're pouring their PAC money into it, ladies and gentlemen, now. And that will lead to Delmarie. I have two thoughts when I see this. There's the old liberal reformer, like the Dawn Clark Netch, Ben. I just did that for Delmarie's sake because I know she's the only one who remembers Delmarie. I mean, Dawn Clark Netch. I'm against PAC money. I'm against dark money. Although this money's not that dark. They pretty much are saying they're giving it. On the other hand, when it's going against Chip Roy, I don't know. I'm not crying about it, okay? So fascinating machinations. And this one quote is just so brilliant. This is one of the leaders of the counterattack against Chip Roy. He says, the solar industry is realizing that it's not just the message, it's the messengers that matter. I think it's a realization of the raw politics in Washington these days when a logical argument doesn't necessarily win the day in a policy fight. I had to laugh at that. These days, like a logical argument has ever won the fight in a policy. I can't remember when a logical argument ever won a fight in anything. All right, without further ado, Delmarie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Do you have any thoughts on my brilliant oration, other than it was a brilliant one? Thank you. And just anything like a logical argument winning a fight in a policy. I can't recall that ever happening. The fact that finally they're waking up, the clean energy people, and starting to play the game that they're already way behind in, and they're doing it by hiring the Kellyanne Conways of the world. Any responses to any of that? Go ahead, Delmarie.
Well, first of all, just to let you know, I did Don Clark Netch's campaign for governor. So when you talk about how long we've been around, and second, unfortunately, that is the world we're in right now. We saw that during this primary election, where you had the pros of one issue and the cons of another issue, all pouring money into this election. I mean, you saw that with AI, you saw that with crypto. So, you saw it all during the campaign, and that's what we're going to have from now on until we reverse Citizens United, that Supreme Court decision, because we've opened up the floodgates. Now, that we also saw that doesn't necessarily determine who will and who won't win, because if you look at the outcome of this primary election, we had people who won who shouldn't have won, and we had people who won who should have won. So based on, in terms of the money piece and the kind of opposition commercials that were thrown at them. And so we know that money doesn't always determine the victor. It does help, but it doesn't always determine the victor. You and the relationship you have with voters, the history you have with voters, that still matters. And we saw that in this election.
Well, Delmarie, I've known you for a long time. You've been on both sides of this battle. You've been behind candidates who don't have the money, and you've been behind candidates who do have the money. And my memory is that it's usually the don't have the money candidates that you support. So this time you're working for Donna Miller. So compare like Donna Miller to David Moore. When you were working for David Moore's campaign, when he was running statewide, what were some of the advantages that Donna Miller had that David did not?
Well, one of the major advantages is being able to get on the air. David Moore, we did commercials. We shot a couple of commercials. We couldn't get them on the air. We didn't have the money. So that makes all the difference in the world, because we had an opponent in that race, Alexei Janulius, who had his own money. He didn't have to get money from outside. He came to the table with money and was able to go up on the air for almost a year. Well, you had a similar case in this election. Raja Krishnamurthy was able to go up on the air since June of last year, but he didn't wind up being the victor. So that's why I said it doesn't necessarily dictate the outcome.
And that's the Texas Republicans calling us right now. Sorry, Delmarie, I just had to say that. All right. Well, so how did it help Donna Miller's campaign?
Well, one of the things we saw when we did the poll, and the poll that we did in December actually gave us a roadmap to victory if we were able to follow it. And that was, we saw where she was versus a more well-known candidate, and that was Jesse Jackson Jr. And she did okay, but then, if you do polls, you do an introduction to the vote, to the person you're polling, and you say, okay, this is that person. Now you gave us your initial viewpoint in terms of name recognition. Now let me tell you a little bit about each candidate, and then let's ask you again, where would you and who would you vote for? And we saw that once we did an introduction of each candidate, and it wasn't a negative introduction of anybody, it was just an introduction of what these people have accomplished. And her numbers went from 9% to 31%. We also had 45% undecided. That was our voter. The 45% undecided. That's who we were going after. If in fact we could raise her quantity, her knowns, to 31%, and then go after the 45% undecided, that was the numbers for victory. And so that meant going on the air as early as possible, introducing her to the voters, and then doing all the other things we know to do, which is don't leave any votes on the table, because the majority of voters, especially in the South suburbs, the South Suburban District or the Second District, which is primarily South Suburban now, more so than it is city. The majority of the voters, the most loyal demographic, the one that turns out in the highest number, happens to be Black women over 55. So she's a Black woman over 55. That's her constituency. She also represented 23% of the district as the Cook County Commissioner. So she already had some name recognition. She already had a relationship with 23% of the district. And so she just had to make sure the rest of the district knew who she was. And we were able to go up in January, and that was major in terms of helping us. But that was the foundation. We then did all the other old school things that I believe you need to do in order to win, because I don't believe in either or, I believe in and both. And so we did old school, we did new school in terms of on the air, social media, all of those other things that you do, but also knocking on doors, phone banking, billboards, robocalls, all the things that aren't in new people's portfolio. We did, because older people still have landlines, believe it or not. And so
You know what? I'm laughing because you don't get much older than me, and I got rid of my landline. But I'm laughing. But I hear what you're saying.
But I have a landline.
I know you do, and half the time I call that first. I know the message by heart, yeah. So no, I always get a kick when people come on my door. They knock on my door. I always engage them because I probably know more about politics than any one of them knocking on my door. So I give them trivia questions about their candidate. I go, if you can answer these trivia questions about your candidate, I will give you my vote. And I know they can't answer. I'm like, first one, what high school did your candidate? What high school did your candidate go to? Like I know the aforementioned David Moore went to Simeon High School. See, I knew that. All right. So the reason you were able to go on air, and that was a very important factor in the race, because you knew your candidate had strengths, but you had to communicate to voters what those strengths were. The reason you were able to go on air, you got an influx of donations from AIPAC-controlled PACs. And did you, Delmarie, have any qualms about taking that money or having your candidate take that money?
Well, I'm not in that role in terms of decision making. And in terms of the money, as the candidate said, the money was from both sides of that issue. There were people who were AIPAC supporters, and there were people who weren't AIPAC supporters who contributed to her campaign. She never had AIPAC, did not endorse her. And so she was not the AIPAC endorsed candidate. She was a candidate who some AIPAC supporters or contributors supported, and some non-AIPAC contributors supported.
Yeah, well, it was pretty obvious to me as a guy looking in from the outside that AIPAC did not want Robert Peters to win. So they had to pick a candidate, whether they supported her or not, that they believed could defeat Robert Peters, or crush Robert Peters, if you will. I think they came pretty close to that. To send a message to all candidates everywhere that you're supposed to play along with their positions on Israel and the Middle East. I believe that was there when I talked about the machinations of these PACs in Texas, the messages they're trying to send. I believe that was the message that they were trying to send. And I watched very carefully. I'll give you credit for it, and you're going to deny that you were the one who architected, so we'll give Donna the credit for it. The response of your campaign on that. So why don't you get into that? How you responded to the issue that somehow or other Donna Miller was a puppet for AIPAC.
Well, I don't think that she was a puppet for AIPAC. I know we had candidates who wanted to say that because they went after her. This became an issue that they could use to go after Donna. But, everything that was going on in the news, she responded to. She sent out statements. She made sure that she had a voice. And even though some of the candidates accused her of not doing that, well, we had proof she had done it because we sent it to the media. So they're saying she hadn't done this, she hadn't done that, when in fact she had done it. They're not getting our news releases. They don't know what we've sent out. She didn't attend candidates forum. We had a couple of candidates said the reason she wasn't at the candidate forum because she was at an AIPAC fundraiser. They don't know that. She wasn't at an AIPAC fundraiser. It just so happens that she was at a Top Ladies of Distinction event where 500 Black women were at. She just so happened she was at a Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce event. That's where she was. And those were public events. And we have proof of that. So they were lying. There was a lot of lying that was going on during this campaign. And I had to wind up telling some media people that you're being played. You're being played because every time they scream AIPAC, you're jumping up and giving us a call. And we're having to respond to that instead of you asking them to prove what it is they're saying. So you are being played.
Well, my theory on this. I already said it to you. I've said it on the mic several times. So I did get those press releases that you were just alluded to. The Robert Peters campaign may not have gotten, but I got them. And I read them. And I said, oh, that's what I said. Oh, Delmarie wrote this. And they were press releases clearly distancing herself from AIPAC and saying she'd be an independent voter in Congress. And they want to give her money. That's not her concern. And so I went on the mic and said she was channeling Harold Washington. Now, Donna Miller may be a little younger than us, so she may not remember this from Harold Washington, but Delmarie remembers it. And this goes back to 1983, where Jane Byrne was passing out turkeys at CHA complexes and encouraging people to vote for her because they got the turkeys at Christmas time. And Harold Washington said, take the turkeys, vote for me. And I said, Donna Miller's taking AIPAC's money and she's going to vote the way she wants to vote, or she's sending that message. We will see. And I can't see anything wrong with taking AIPAC's money and then voting your way. Now, that's just personally me. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. If I see her suddenly becoming like a rubber stamp for some insane policies that Netanyahu and Trump are cooking up, that's a different story. Do you follow what I'm saying, Delmarie? So am I being inaccurate, unfair, when I say she was pursuing the Harold Washington theory of take the turkey and vote for me? Go ahead.
Well, I don't know that that was the theory necessarily, but I know that she's independent and she has her own mind, and she certainly is going to do what she thinks is right. And I think proof of that was, I remember something that one of my candidates said years ago, and that is, I would rather lose right than win wrong. And that's something I believe in. I've believed in that throughout my 30 some years of doing this. And you saw that all during the campaign. Donna Miller did not come out negative on anyone, no matter what slings and arrows were being shot at her or how she was being pummeled it by the other candidates. But she did not come out negative on anyone. And so that says to me that that's the kind of person she will be in Congress, a person with integrity and a person who has a moral compass and a person who's not going to do anything that necessarily is going to hurt her community. As she says, she represents her community, and that's what's most important for her.
So Delmarie, got to ask you this question. It's a hypothetical. But if you were in the campaign, I'm not going to predict any of the candidates, but if you were running up against a candidate who got money from AIPAC PACs, would you also go hard on them, just the way they did at Donna Miller? Would you not employ the same strategy? I mean, you got to do what you got to do to win the election. So if the roles were reversed and your candidate did not have that money, wouldn't you have gone hard against them?
Well, let me just say this, since you supported Robert Peters, I'm going to use his campaign as an example.
Go ahead.
That was all he talked about. I said that he had Donna Miller derangement syndrome, much like Donald Trump derangement syndrome. There is no way in the world I would allow my candidate to constantly talk about another candidate. Tell me what you're going to do. Tell me why I should vote for you. Tell me why you're the best person. That's what every minute you're talking to the voting public, that's what you should be saying. The idea that you have a mobile billboard truck with a picture of your opponent on it is the craziest thing I've ever seen. The idea that you're doing direct mail with pictures of your opponent instead of telling me about you is the craziest thing I've ever seen. The idea that you're doing Instagram and Facebook and you're sitting in a little room and with a microphone and all you're talking about is your opponent is the craziest thing I've ever seen. So no, that is not what I would advise my candidate to do.
Well, that leads me to the next question. That is a strategy that was more or less successfully employed in the 9th Congressional District. And I know, Delmarie, you know all the difference between the 9th Congressional District and the 2nd Congressional District. And when I'm looking back at it, maybe the same playbook should not be used in every single congressional district.
Absolutely.
I try to tell my lefty friends, there's a difference between the 2nd and the 9th. My lefty friends still have not figured that one out. So why don't you explain the differences, in your humble opinion, between the 2nd Congressional District, which goes, you're right, it's mostly South Suburban now. It used to be in Chicago, Gus Savage days. When I first moved here, it was south of Hyde Park. Now it's still south of Hyde Park, but it goes way south suburb. The 9th Congressional is along the suburbs, the Rogers Park and north into the North Shore. So why don't you go riff a little bit on that, the distinctions and why the tactics they employed in the 9th may not work in the 2nd. Go ahead.
Well, of course, and one of the reasons for the district having changed so dramatically that it goes from 43rd Street to the north, from the north, all the way to Danville to the south. I mean, it's one of the largest districts in the area, and it's because of the loss of Black population. And again, when we're talking about the loss of Black population, we have to understand how that has dramatically affected the city of Chicago and congressional districts, the same way with the 7th congressional district, and how that has changed in terms of its boundaries. But the question you ask is that did not come up in the race, other than from the opponents. AIPAC funding was not an issue that the constituents asked about. She was out on the street. She didn't hide. She did door to door. She went to events. She was at an event right the weekend before the election. 2,000 Black women were there at that event. That's an annual event. 2,000 Black women. Never came up one time. So when you have a population that's 62% Black women, 55 and over, and that's your voter base, and they're not talking about that, why would you be talking about that?
What were the issues?
The issues were healthcare. Issues were affordability. The issues are South Suburban Airport, which none of the other candidates even knew about, except for Jesse Jr.
You got to give him credit on that one. Come on now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to give me credit. I'm the one who developed it for him in 95 when he ran in the special election.
That is true.
So I'm the one who knows it better than anybody because I haven't been away. I didn't go anywhere. I've been doing it for 30 years. But the fact that none of the other candidates knew about it, Robert Peters didn't know about it. Willie Preston didn't know about it. Adal Regis probably knew about it because he worked for Robin Kelly. And Yamika Brown didn't know about it. So when you look at the only two candidates talking about one of the most important issues in the South suburbs in terms of it will affect the tax base, it will affect property taxes, it affects the school funding, it affects jobs, it affects all those things in terms of quality of life issues.
Yeah.
And you've got nobody else talking about it but two candidates. Those are the things that were important. The fact that you are getting ready to represent a district, and this is the most important issue to the people who live out there, and you're not even curious enough to learn about the issue.
You know what? I have no response. You got me there, Delmarie. Yeah, they should have known about the second airport. It's pretty sad. Wow. All right. So how much of a factor is, in your humble opinion, is Israel and Palestine and Gaza and the ongoing war and the slaughter in Gaza? How much is this a compelling issue motivating voters in Black congressional districts? And you and I have had conversation off the mic about this. I was stunned last year when Cori Bush lost. I thought for sure she was going to win. I subscribe to the notion that if an incumbent stands up on behalf of her constituents or his constituents against either another powerful politician or powerful interests or outsiders, if you will, then the voters will stand by her. I base this on Chicago, my experiences in Chicago, okay? Going back to Alan Streeter. I'm just going to throw that name out there because Delmarie, I know you know who Alan Streeter is. And you know what I'm talking about. The rest of my listeners, go look it up. And she lost. And I've been trying to figure this one out, Delmarie, ever since. So help me out here. How important is the issue of Israel and the Palestinians and the Middle East to voters in Black congressional districts? Go ahead.
Well, it certainly is important. I mean, and Donna Miller comes from a long line of military family members. I mean, she's got 3 generations who were colonels in the U.S. Army. So she spoke from that point of view when she talked about it. She also is the first woman to chair the Veterans Committee for the Cook County Board. So she was able to speak to the issue from that perspective. It's certainly an important issue, what's going on, because who gets sent to these wars? We know who gets sent to these wars. The Donald Trumps and his family and the Barron Trumps don't get sent to these wars. The Donald Juniors, the Erics, they don't get sent to these wars. We get sent to these wars. And so it's an important issue. But also the other things, when you're trying to live every day, when you're trying to make ends meet every day, when you don't have a hospital to go to, as we saw when the Wells family, that happened during this race, when the Wells family was turned away from an Indiana hospital and told, go back home. And then she had her baby in the truck on the way home and had to go back to the Indiana hospital. Well, the first question is, why was she at an Indiana hospital and she lives in Dalton? That's the first question. Mm-hmm. Because there's a healthcare desert in the 2nd Congressional District. The second issue is Donna has been one of the lead people on maternal mortality and morbidity. And that's all she's talked about. She started the first doula program as a part of Cook County that they've ever had, and funding for it. I mean, so when you are talking about issues that affect people every day, and people can relate to them because they see them, they live them, it becomes very different than something you're talking about that may or may not happen.
When you put it that way, again, and don't forget the first point you made, a Black woman, and let's talk about that for the moment. You and I have talked many times about how in the summer of 2024, I'm going to say it again, I was all excited about Kamala Harris. You know where I'm going with this, Delmarie. And you texted me or emailed me and go, Ben, no, no. I was excited and you weren't. Okay. I give you credit for being right about that and all the conversations. And I go overboard on it. I go, the only reason Kamala Harris lost that election was because she's a Black woman. And because the voters could not bring themselves to it across the board in every way. Black men, Arab American voters in Michigan, white men, oh my God, white men at the top of the list. You just on and on. Delmarie, they just could not bring themselves to vote for a Black woman. This time around, Black women did pretty well in the Democratic primary, okay? And to put it mildly, Toni Preckwinkle mopped the floor with Riley. Delmarie, okay, like 62% of the vote. Juliana Stratton prevailed over Raja, and there was another Black woman in the race. You put their two votes together, they got over, what was it, like close to 60% of the vote. So has something changed? Donna Miller was victorious, okay, in the 2nd Congressional. Now, true, Keena Collins did not win in the 7th, but okay, I'm not 100% on this, but it's pretty good run, Delmarie. So your thoughts, are voters changing their attitudes toward Black women? Are they showing remorse for being so stupid as to vote for Donald Trump in 2024? Your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a couple of things. One is Black women have always been able to be successful on a lower level. It's like you can be the vice president, but you cannot be the president. That has always been the case. So I'm not surprised by that at all. What we did see in terms of Juliana and her victory is a couple of things that I've been talking about for years and people keep saying, and I disagree with, and that is that there can't be multiple Black people in a race. We're going to cancel each other out. Well, we've disproven that over and over. And I think we need to stop saying that as Black people. because it hinders our ability. You may be stopping somebody who would be great from entering a race because there's another Black person in that race. So we need to stop saying that. Lori Lightfoot won. There were multiple Black people in the race. Brandon Johnson won. There were multiple Black people in the race. Juliana just won. There were 2 Black women in the race. We have disproven that over and over again at this point. So whoever wants to run needs to run, and may the best woman or man win. And that's what we saw in Juliana's case. So going back to Juliana, what we saw is we've already had Carol Moseley Braun. So we had a Black woman senator. So Illinois is a little bit more receptive. Illinois is a little bit different. We're the only blue state in a sea of red. We think a little differently. And Black people, and I keep saying this, as bad as things are for Black people in Chicago, we still outperform higher than our weight. And it is amazing to me. And I think those are the things as Black people we should be very proud of. Our problem is we don't hold our elected officials accountable. And you've heard me say that a million times. So I think Chicago's an outlier. I think Illinois is an outlier. And you can't really use the same rules and patterns that you see here in Chicago for the rest of the country. We're just different.
All right. We are different. Actually, my line as time goes on more and more, I say this all the time. And everything I've seen happen nationally, I've seen happen before in Chicago. Absolutely. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of when X and X so-and-so in Chicago. I remember this. I remember this in Chicago, and it just, there's dozens of different cases. So yeah, Chicago is different, but it's kind of the same too. I know that's a complete contradiction. By the way, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like things are different in Chicago. Like, oh God, like the reverence that people in Chicago have for powerful politicians and gangsters is so Chicago. I don't know but then I look at MAGA loving Trump, and what is that all about? That's, to me, it's just like Chicagoans loving Daley. Like, you know what I mean? It's, I love a gangster.
No, but I think the difference is one is, yes, I admire you. The other is it's a cult. These people, this is a cult. I don't think there was any cult factor when it came to the Daleys. But yes, people admired them.
I will. That is a comment. We could do an hour on that. I definitely will push back with you on that. I think it was a cult. I talked to Northsiders. I don't want to go down this path because we could go for an hour. But this just met a mark on that. I disagree. It was a Daley cult. Oh, he's so smart. He's so brilliant. They just hated Harold Washington so much that maybe that's what it was. It wasn't really a cult. It was just like, thank God it's not Harold Washington.
No, it was racism, which is kind of cult. Which is, as Bishop Desmond Tutu said, is the white man's disease. So that's the difference.
Yeah. There was the 19. Yeah. All right. We'll go. I'll avoid that because that's an hour conversation. And I will push back on a little thing you said. Let everybody run. I generally agree with that. But right now I'm so mad at Democrats in the state of California. I don't know if you're following this one, Delmarie, because you've been really preoccupied with Chicago stuff, Illinois, the congressional. But they have a primary system. They have a unique primary where the top 2 vote getters, no matter what party, they run all together, and then the top 2 go against each other. And those dummies in California got so many Democrats running that 2 Republicans could emerge. I've never seen a more clueless bunch of Democrats in my life. No, New York Democrats, they're pretty bad. So I'm not so much waving the flag for, everybody run, at least not in California.
Well, no, but I'm saying here in Chicago, I think we need to stop saying we can't have multiple Black people running in a race. I think that time has passed. And especially when you look at the odds are against us, and yet you are still winning. I mean, we've got fewer people voting now than we ever had. We've lost 250,000 Black people, and yet we're still prevailing. So with multiple Black people in a race. So
well, I got to ask you about to this point. The first time I was guilty of saying I subscribed to that notion based on the 83 mayoral election. I carried that into the 90s. That was the prevailing, and white people had that attitude. Can't have too many white people running or it'll split the vote from Daley and we'll get a Black guy winning. That white people don't act like you weren't doing it too. And then in 2010, Toni Preckwinkle won the Democratic primary for Cook County Board President in a race, Delmarie, which was just like classically set up for her to lose. I'm doing this from memory. I want to say there were 3 Black candidates in the race and 1 white guy who was a fleshy Irish American who was like, oh, this guy will win. He's like, people just think it's Daley. Chicago, his name wasn't Daley, but he's close enough. He looks like Daley. And she won, Delmarie. And that's when I go, you know what, Ben, you better rethink the world. Toni Preckwinkle won. Go ahead.
But that was also, I think it was the beginning of the progressives actually taking a position and supporting somebody who at the time was progressive as an alderman. It was also a pushback on Daley because I know that around that time, I remember a poll that came out for Daley, and he had around 37% approval rating. And so there was a rejection of people were beginning to finally open their eyes and see what was going on in the city. So I think her timing was absolutely perfect. And the fact that she had been an alderman for 20 years in a ward that was seen as progressive, and her voting record was progressive. That's why it was so funny to me, and I don't mean funny, haha, when all of a sudden she was framed as being a machine hack in the mayor's race in 2019, when we know, those of us who've been following her forever, know that that was far from the truth. She and Ed Burke, I'm sure, almost never voted the same in the 20 years she was in city council. But suddenly she was part of Ed Burke. She was an extension of Ed Burke. She was an extension of the machine and all of those things in the 2019 election.
Oh, well, first of all, what I thought was hilarious is that suddenly voters in 2019 were rejecting the concept of Ed Burke. You same voters were going along with the Ed Burkes and the Michael Madigans and the Richie Daleys for 30 years. And all of a sudden, when it's Toni Preckwinkle's turn, you're like, I cannot, no more Ed Burke. Oh, I didn't see you complaining it was Burke.
But
so,
you know what? But you know what that
ahead.
was to me. What that was more about, and like this goes back to what we first started talking about with Kamala, about her being a boss. Again, you know, if you remember the editorials in the Tribune kept saying that was too much power. She had too much power. You know, the idea that she was the Cook County Board president and she was the chair of the Democratic Party, head the Democratic Party, and then she was looking to be the mayor, and it's too much power. But nobody said there was too much power when it was a Daley. Nobody said it was too much power when it was George Dunn. But all of a sudden, a Black woman, oh, that's too much power.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so true. And particularly nobody at the Chicago Tribune said it.
Exactly.
That little rubber stamp for Richard J. Daley. Okay. That combine of powerful corporate Republicans and Richard J. Daley ruled the roost from 1955 to 1976, and the Tribune was waving the flag the whole time. So you had her full of it. They always have been, still are. So I had a little, I have to tell you, Delmarie, I get your response to this. I have no idea what it will be. But I already said this on the mic. I was like, the day after the election, I was looking at those results. And again, Toni Preckwinkle, she beat Brendan Riley. I think it was 61% for her, something like that. I forget the exact number, but it was a wallop. And this was the core. I could show you the people who supported Brendan Riley. They're all like the core of the opposition to Brandon Johnson. And they were riding that anti-Brandon Johnson fervor. And they were trying to depict Toni Preckwinkle as a Brandon Johnson puppet, when it's the other way around. She taught him everything he knows. And she just crushed him.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was really surprised. I was talking to some guy who's a good friend of mine, and he's a white, Polish, 60-ish guy. We talk on a regular basis. And when I heard him come out so fervently against Toni and we're going to take back that seat, I was like, oh my God. I was shocked. I was in shock. And I was like, oh, this is not about Toni.
Yes. Wow. The guy said that to you?
Yes.
Oh man. Did he not know who you are?
No, he does. He knows me very well. That's why I took it so seriously, because I was like, this really says a lot.
Yeah, it does say. Well, I heard the same thing when Daley won. When Daley beat Sawyer, this was ancient history, in 89, that was. And then he beat Evans and became the mayor. I heard that all over the city of Chicago. Not just in the Bridgeport, but on the north side. We took back the seat. And I knew what they were talking about. And the Tribune and the Sun-Times pretended like that wasn't an issue, and Cranes, they all pretend, but I knew what they were talking about. Absolutely. And they kept that seat up until 2019, Delmarie. So I know what they're talking. But were you surprised? Okay. So were you surprised by the margin? 61% that she got?
Yeah, I was surprised by the margin. I knew she probably was going to win, because I had some people asking me that, and I said, no, she's going to win re-election. I just don't know how close it'll be, but she'll win. But I was very surprised at the margin. And going back to Donna Miller, I mean, I didn't know if we would win, but I certainly thought it was going to be a lot closer than the race wound up being. For Donna Miller in the 2nd Congressional District. I thought it was going to go into the long evening hours. And so between Donna and Jesse Jr., and when AP called it at 8:15, I was shocked.
Well, I was stunned. I have to admit, I was on the phone with Monroe. I was like, I'm going to have to call Delmarie and congratulate her on this one, because her girl just won. It's over. It was like an hour into it or something like that. And I'm now, I've already told you this, but I'm going to give you the Monroe theory, and you're free to do whatever you want with it. So in the aftermath, we were analyzing that election. He said, well, we had both predicted Junior was going to win. Okay. And we were not alone in making that prediction. I'm just going to tell you that. Yeah. So I just, well, his last name is Jackson. His father is one of the great heroes of the civil rights movement, one of the great heroes in Chicago politics for some people. And he just died. There is no way this kid's he's not a kid anymore. There's no way Junior's going to lose. And he lost. And so Monroe and I were talking about that, and Monroe said it's because, and one of the factors, not the only reason, was because Junior at the memorial service sort of trash talked 3 retired presidents that were sitting there paying their respects to his father: Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, and of course Barack Obama. And he goes, that did not sit well with voters. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know that was a determining factor. I would say it didn't help. might not have harmed, but it didn't help. You know, because I do know the backstories, a lot of the backstories, it puts me at an advantage or disadvantage, whichever one you want to look at. But I can understand Jesse Jr. being a little bit upset. I don't believe President Barack Obama, was asked to eulogize Jesse Jackson. So for him to take 25 minutes on a long day and just make it personal prerogative, I'm who I am, and so I'm going to take 25 minutes whether you want me to or not. I can see where that would be a little bit upsetting when you did have everybody else there. And so, as I said, it didn't harm him, I don't believe, but it didn't help him.
I did not know that backstory. And I'm about to run that by Monroe. I don't know if he knows it either. All right, let's change the subject. We'll close with a couple issues here, total off the wall issues. We'll get to the Caleb Williams one. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. No ducking and dodging, Delmarie. So there was a fascinating quote from one of our favorite alder people. Even though, again, you know, sometimes you start on different sides of things. Delmarie was not with Jeanette Taylor when Jeanette first won. She had a different candidate in the race, but she's come to respect her, and we did a show together. Remember, Delmarie? Anyway, she had a quote that really, man, it really rung true for me. And so this had to do with the veto override, with Brandon Johnson's veto of legislation passed by the city council. And let me set the stage. The same factions in the city council that was backing Brendan Riley in that race against Toni Preckwinkle, that same faction essentially has been at play against Brandon Johnson from the moment he stepped into that seat. And they sense it. They know it. They're like the Daily People in '89. They just sense that they're going to take back City Hall, and like they thought they were going to take back the like your Polish American friend told you, they're going to take back the county board. Okay, Delmarie, they smell it. Okay, and so they're like every chance they can, they stand up to Brandon Johnson. They cook up some excuse for it. So the issue had to do with raising the sub-minimum wage. Now, you think Chicago, progressive town with a strong labor roots, where they care about working people, got that in quotes, would not be against raising the minimum wage. But they dragged out every restaurateur in the world to say, this is going to put me out of business. This is going to be at a disadvantage. The only way we can stay in business if we pay people less. God. And all these aldermen, sounds good to me. I'm an alderman. And they voted to freeze the sub-minimum wage. And Mayor Brandon Johnson vetoed that. And so now they need to round up 4 aldermen, Delmarie, to override the veto. Okay, so they're trying to, and you got to get all 4 to stand together. You can't just get 2. But Billy Bob will say, I'm not going to do it unless you got 4. I won't stick my neck out and get it cut off. You get what I'm saying? And this is what Jeanette Taylor had to say about that. She said, Mayor Johnson has had his issues, but liken them to past mayors. Quote, y'all just don't like it that it's a black man in charge. At least he'll put his name and his veto power on the line to protect everyday working people. Show many how many mayors have. End of quote. I would love for you to riff on that. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't say it in the same way as Jeanette, but I basically am saying that I'm in a position at this point that if Brandon Johnson has to be the mayor by veto, then let's just get used to it. We're in for a bumpy ride. Because if that's what he has to do, then I'm with him 100%. We have not fought this long to get a progressive mayor in office since Harold Washington, to have this corporate-centric city council, including black and white aldermen, stand up and stop every damn thing that he's trying to do. And that's what they're trying to do. He said he wanted to invest in people when he ran. It's not investing in people to repeal the video gaming ban. It's not investing in people to increase the plastic grocery bag tax. It's not investing in people to send city debt to collectors. That's not investing in people. And every time you look up, they're doing something that's not investing in people. But what is happening behind the scenes is that rich people are forming PACs to run commercials against him and his issues, just like the corporate head tax, which both dailies had. We had for 40 years until Rahm Emanuel became the mayor, and as an homage to his business friends, said, I'm going to get rid of the head tax. But in the process of getting rid of the head tax, we closed schools because you got to make up for that loss of income somewhere, that loss of revenue from somewhere. So we closed schools, we closed mental health clinics, we closed police districts, we took the conductors off the trains, we did all these things that we're now crying about, crime and everything. Don't even give Brandon credit for that. He doesn't even credit for that. I was talking to a reporter and she said to me, she said, well, crime is going down everywhere. I laughed. I'm like, so you don't even give him credit for that.
It's brainwashed.
It's just happening by magic. And so, no, she is absolutely right. And what we have to do is look at the people who are funding these people on their D2s, see where they're getting their money from, because going back to the very beginning of this conversation, see where they're getting their money from, because they are promising these aldermen who are anti-Brandon Johnson that they will fund their campaigns and any opposition that they might have when they run again.
That's what's going on. And by the way, when you went on that riff about the reporter, I was just laughing. That's how the Chicago media, you're so brainwashed when you're a reporter in this town to really, like, a combination of hate and fear Black political independence. And that's a whole other conversation, Delmarie, but it's really profound and pronounced. And it's very deep. And as I get older and older, I see it and I realize I've been exposed to it my whole life since I moved to Evanston and learned that there were Black people in the world. And it's really deep. And it was been working against Mayor Brandon Johnson from the day he stepped in office. And JT is absolutely correct. Mayor Johnson stumbled out of the gates, Delmarie, and he did not have his act together, in my humble opinion, particularly in the press room, in the media messaging room. But he's gotten his act together a little. He's regained his footing, and he's championing some important issues that you think Chicagoans would care about. And they're still against him. And the crime went down, and they still won't give him credit for it. And we had the Democratic convention in this town, and they didn't give him any credit. It's all JB.
No, I agree 100%. And that is a problem. And yes, he made mistakes. I still say, he's still making some mistakes that I would probably advise him differently or to approach him differently. But I had a reporter who asked me a couple of years ago, when his first year anniversary, what did I think of Brandon Johnson? And I said, he's done no harm. And the reporter said to me, well, that's a pretty low bar. I said, pretty low bar? I said, how is that a pretty low bar when I can actually tell you, list all the harm that Daley has done, all the harm that Rahm Emanuel has done. And I went through the whole list for him. I said, no, they did us harm. This man has done us no harm. You just don't like him.
Yeah. What did he say to you when you did that?
No, he was, well, they all know me, so they just,
Okay, Delmarie.
Okay, Delmarie. Right.
He's done no harm. Dude, have you not been living in Chicago? Have you ever heard of the parking meter deal?
Exactly. Okay. And that was one of the examples. the Skyway, the parking meter
Skyway
deal,
Oh my God.
the $200 million hole under Block 37 that's still there because we were going to do a bullet train from downtown to O'Hara. I mean, so we could go, and that the city council approved, and it's, so where's that 200 million? Or the fact that we, spent $1 billion on police brutality and misconduct and all of that. So where's that money? I mean, so let's talk about harm. You want to talk about harm?
That's great, man. Just let's keep that reporter's identity a secret. Well, it's done no harm. That's a low bar. Oh my Lord, this man never lived through Chicago. All right, so we'll close with this little curveball. I'm throwing at Delmarie. Watch her duck and dodge this one. No, I'm just kidding. Believe it or not, Delmarie and I have had some conversations about the Bears. The Bear Stadium one we had. Oh my God, that was when you were advocating putting the Bear Stadium on the south side of Chicago, and the Bears said, we can't do that. Our our fan base is on the north side and the northwest side. We can't go to the south side. And now all of a sudden they're cutting a deal with Hammond, Indiana. I'm like, you guys, man, you just will say anything. Anyway, we don't know where that's going. I still bet on it. The Bears going to Arlington Heights.
I don't think they're going to Hammond.
No, they use those Hoosiers to get something out of Pritzker, and it seems to be working. And so they're going to get tax certainty, Arlington Heights, which means they're going to be a cap on the amount of property taxes they pay, and your dummies are going to pay more. So go enjoy your Bears, Arlington Heights. All right, I'll stop with that poisonous rancor. All right, so this one is an interesting little take. I saw this drop. Caleb Williams, who's the quarterback for the Chicago Bears, likes to think of himself as the Iceman because he's cool, all right? So he is actually apparently trying to buy up the rights to the nickname, the Iceman, to corner the market on the Iceman. And I saw this, there's an article in The Athletic, the New York Times sports section, and I sent this to a bunch of friends of mine who are sports fans. And the love that Chicago has for Caleb Williams is so intense right now that I think most Chicagoans, if he wants to do it, Ben, let him do it. That's typical Chicagoan right there, okay? They go along with whoever's on top. But I don't know. I'm against this. I love Caleb Williams much as the next person. Number one, there's a guy named George Gervin who nickname was the Iceman, a great basketball player way before your time, millennials. Look him up. George, Gervin. But for me, there's only one Iceman in the city of Chicago, and that is Jerry Butler. And I'm just feeling so old and so out of it that feeling like Caleb Williams can walk into town and say, I'm the Iceman, and nobody remembers Jerry Butler. I'm like, come on, Delmarie. The guy he went into politics as well. And I have a special affection for him because he voted against the TIF stuff. And I always gave him credit. You got some guts, man. Jerry Butler, Cook County Board Commissioner. Look him up, millennials. And one of the greatest singers, in my humble opinion, ever to come out of the city of Chicago. North Sider, by the way. So, Delmarie Cobb, your thoughts on Caleb Williams trying to corner the market in Chicago with the Iceman nickname? Go ahead.
Well, that's because he doesn't know anything about Chicago, and none of the people around him know anything about Chicago. Because, of course, Jerry, the Iceman Butler, I mean, that's how he was known. And all of us who grew up with him singing know him as that. And so, not in Chicago. You got to come up with another name. You can be creative, come up with something else that also means nerves of steel or whatever, or you're cool or whatever. But it cannot be Caleb Iceman Williams.
That is funny. Yeah, you go with nerves of steel. That's not bad. Caleb Nerves of Steel Williams. That's better than Iceman. All right, Delmarie, I had a feeling you would agree with me. I know you have fond memories of Jerry Butler as well. And people of our age really love Jerry Butler. So, but our age is moving on, Delmarie, but you still have some in the tank, as shown by that 2nd congressional district. So I'll close where I began. Congratulations. Your candidate won, the one I would have voted for, but I don't even live in the district. loss. So you to the victor goes the marbles, or whatever they say. So congratulations one more time. All right, Delmarie.
Thank you.
All right, that's the great Delmarie Cobb. She tells it the way she feels it, and appreciate it very much coming on my show all these years. Also want to thank producer Nate. He does an outstanding job, and he knows enough. DJ Nate is DJ. He knows Jerry Butler is the real Iceman. Come on. He's not fooled by that stuff. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. Peace and love, everybody.